This is VOA News. I'm Joe Ramsey. The United Nations warned on Monday that 800,000 people may flee Sudan as rival military factions build in the capital despite a supposed ceasefire, Reuters correspondent Zachary Goldman reports.
Sudan's UN humanitarian coordinator Abdul Diang warned of a, quote, full-blown catastrophe.
As you know, it has been more than 2 weeks of devastating fighting in Sudan, a conflict that is turning Sudan's humanitarian crisis into a full-blown catastrophe.
Hundreds of people have been killed and thousands wounded in battles that erupted between the Sudanese Army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, or RSF, in the middle of April. Foreign governments have pulled out their citizens over the past week in a series of operations by air, sea, and land.
Reuters correspondent Zachary Goldman. Russia unleashed a fresh volley of missiles on Ukraine overnight in a city in the east, killing 2 people, setting off huge blazes and damaging dozens of homes and other buildings. President Volodymyr Zelensky announced the 2 deaths in his nightly video address on Monday, vowing, quote, the Russian occupiers will receive our answer for every such strike. He said the terrorist missiles took the lives of 2 people, very young men. 40 other people, women, children, men, were treated for wounds and injuries. A vast search was underway on Monday in Texas for the man suspected of shooting dead 5 neighbors, including a 9-year-old boy, after they asked him to stop firing in his rifle in his yard late at night. The FBI in Houston said more than 250 law enforcement officers from a dozen agencies were actively searching for the man, a 38-year-old Mexican national. Find more on our website, voanews.com. This is VOA News. The bodies of several children exhumed in eastern Kenya showed signs of starvation and asphyxiation, according to a government pathologist. Reuters correspondent Rachel Faber has more.
Investigators have begun the first autopsies on over 100 people linked to a doomsday cult, whose bodies were discovered last month in shallow graves in the Shakahola forest. Authorities say the dead were followers of the Good News International Church, led by Pastor Paul Mackenzie. He is accused of instructing worshippers to starve themselves to death in order to be the first to go to heaven before the end of the world. Mackenzie has been in police custody since April 14th, alongside 14 other suspected cult members.
Reuters correspondent Rachel Faber. Police clashed with hundreds of protesters in Paris and other cities across France on Monday during union-led May Day demonstrations against President Emmanuel Macron's increase in the retirement age. Police fired tear gas and water cannons at protesters in the capital after demonstrators pelted officers with petrol bombs and fireworks, torched ride-sharing bicycles, and smashed up bus stops. Macron last month raised the retirement age by 2 years to 64, despite multi-sector strikes in a move that drove his popularity down to the near-record lows seen during the Yellow Vest crisis of 2018 and 2019. A judge temporarily blocks a rule in the U.S. Midwestern state of Missouri that would limit transgender care, AP correspondent Julie Walker reports.
The first-of-its-kind rule would have restricted access to gender-affirming health care to children and adults, but the Missouri judge issued a temporary restraining order blocking enforcement until a lawsuit challenging it is resolved. The state's Republican Attorney General touts the rule as a way to shield minors from what he describes as experimental medical treatments, but it also applies to some adults. Those suing argue the rule is discriminatory and the AG sidestepped the legislature and exceeded his authority by attempting to regulate gender-affirming health care under the state's consumer protection laws. I'm Julie Walker.
Israeli parties have made no progress on a compromise over the government's judicial overhaul package, a leading opposition figure said on Monday, as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said he continued to seek agreement on the bitterly disputed plan. The planned overhaul, which would give the government control over naming judges to the Supreme Court and let Parliament override many rulings, was paused after some of the biggest street protests ever seen in Israel. I'm Joe Ramsey, VOA News.
Thank you for watching. Can you do me a favor? Please leave a comment in the comments section below. That would really help. Thank you, and see you again soon.